to stand up to those who are seeking to become popular on negativity. I am not one who fears criticism, but there are people who fear me when I respond to them.
Prime Minister Brogard updates the nation at today's press conference.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning, Jamaica. We are officially out of the preparation phase. We have done well in the preparation phase. But even the best laid plans would be laid to waste in a Category 5 hurricane. It's as if you have gotten a knockout blow.
Yep.
And you're trying to reconstitute, get yourself up off the mat to say, what do I do next?
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the impact of Hurricane Melissa.
Yep.
So in the initial phases of the relief phase, it was almost as if it were a scramble. What is the relief phase? The relief phase is that period of time when the authorities of the government, the civil society, private sector, and others seek to mobilize relief for those who are most impacted. What is that kind of relief we're talking about? Food, water, medicine, clothing, emergency shelter, and services, medical services.
We need that.
Search and rescue, or in most cases now, search and recovery of bodies. Other services as well, psychological and emotional, the mental health services. And in our case, the desperate effort to restore some form of connectivity.
Okay.
Because the loss of connection has also been significant, which adds to the emotional and mental health crisis that we face. Persons trying to get in touch with loved ones, persons feeling disconnected, who have for almost all their lives relied upon being able to pick up the phone and call a loved one. So in the initial few days, there was a scramble. And that scramble essentially was, my hand is up, I need help. And the system trying to respond to the loudest voices or the most frantic wave of hands. As of today, we are out of that phase. Now, a systematic response will take over in the relief effort.
Okay.
And you would see that the government has made certain actions to ensure that there is a systematic response. Let me say it in another way. I hear the cry of every baby that is now hungry in a community that is not yet reached. It goes to bed with me. And I have to think of it in this way. Do I try myself to jump on a helicopter with a package to reach the baby that is crying? Or do I try to develop a system to get more helicopters in, to get more packages put together, to get more supplies in, to get more support to be able to reach those babies that are crying? While at the same time saying to Keith and Darrell and Minister Tufton, get out there in the scramble. And so that is what you have been seeing. People individually going out there trying to relieve the human suffering. But that is not a sustainable response. The sustainable response is what you would see the government doing now. One, we have to streamline ODPEM, both as the Office of Disaster Preparedness, which that function was done, that phase is over, and now we are in the phase of the emergency management, which is the relief. Now, let's just be clear. The government can't stand up ODPEM with its own parallel structure of having all the people that would be necessary to pack the relief items, to load the trucks, to move the trucks to where they have to be stored, to clear the roads, all those little minor functions that make the big service works, and keep them and pay them throughout the year, for every year, even when there is no disaster. Where that capability exists is in the JDF. It is a multifunctional capability. And so we have to, and at this point, I do commend the JDF and of course the JCF as well. The JDF is the repository of the logistics and engineering capabilities of the government. And in hindsight, as I reflect on how we have executed policy, not many Jamaicans would know this, but in the last 10 years of my administration, we have invested heavily in the JDF. In fact, we have doubled the size of the JDF, both in terms of men and women, material, equipment and technology. We made an investment a few years ago in expanding our fleet of helicopters, expanding our offshore patrol vessels, expanding our radars, expanding our communications, increasing the number of Bushmasters and expanding the number of units that are in the JDF. Today it is paying off. The logistical capability of the JDF is certainly best in class in the region.
About 20 more helicopters.
And that is what is giving us now the horsepower to be able to deal with a Category 5 level disaster. So the JDF gives the legs and arms to the management functions of the emergency. So it would recognize the movement of ODPEM to OPM, where the JDF is already under the portfolio of the Office of the Prime Minister. The administration of the JDF as well, which was formerly under National Security, will also move to the Office of the Prime Minister. And we have appointed someone to now head the JDF, the ODPEM, seconded from the JDF. So we expect that there will be seamless operations. Why is this so? In the relief phase, there may be a sense that we will do this for a few weeks. I want to just bring everybody's mind to the reality that this will be a few months operation. That the country needs to understand this. We have relief entities here. Some of them are capable of carrying out long-term relief, but most of them are not capable to carry out long-term relief and will take up stumps and leave the theater of operations after a few weeks. So the government has to have that base capability to be able to sustain the relief effort for a long period of time. And that is what I have been working on, to ensure that your government has that staying capability to bring relief to 6 parishes and other divisions and constituencies in other parishes that are impacted. We don't have the exact number of persons who are impacted, but we can estimate that it would be somewhere in the region of about 600,000 persons. Now think of it. We have never had a sustained operational capability to bring constant relief effort to 600,000 persons and what that requires. So the planning that has to go into that for the logistics and management takes some time. In our case, only a few days before we can stand it up so that we can reach every crying baby who is hungry. So Commander Gale has been tasked. The recovery effort is significant. I don't want to call everybody's name now. I leave the Minister of Foreign Affairs to give a comprehensive review of all the countries that have reached out to us. And I've had direct conversations with several world leaders about how they can help. The relief effort is obviously being supported, but the conversations have moved past the relief stage now, where we're talking about recovery, and that's where I am engaging several world leaders as to how they can play a role in the recovery from the disaster. You would have heard me say in the presentation to Parliament that the damage could be anywhere from 6 to 7 billion US dollars. that is a conservative estimate. I have seen one economist saying something much more. I don't want to be alarmist. But we're going through the process of trying to assess the damage. But it is one thing to lose the physical assets of production, which, by the way, if you were to compare the disaster of COVID to this disaster, we didn't lose any productive asset. In this one, we have lost productive assets. We have lost farms. We have lost businesses. We have lost schools. And we have to go and rebuild them. You have to put on top of that what it is going to cost to sustain the relief phase. What it's going to cost us for debris management. Major part of the operations. What it is going to cost us to sustain the food packages. There's a notion that we're getting a lot of aid and that will carry you through. That will carry you for a couple of weeks, if so many. We are going to have to put the budgetary allocation to carry the relief effort. And that is going to be significant. Then there is the cleanup operation, which is a quite separate operation from debris management. Because once you move away the debris that is the initial debris from the storm, then now you have to go and figure out to clear roads, to move all the debris of houses that have been blown down, and everybody will soon start putting their old beds and couches and old fridge and everything you're going to see start to pile up. So which is why we have indicated that we will have a national cleanup week. It might very well stretch into months because the level of debris is significant. And how that is going to be disposed of and the cost of that is something we will have to address. And then we have to figure out now the parallel systems to get people back into school, to get hospitals up and running, to get businesses running. All of those come with a cost that we will have to foot. So in addition to losing your productive capacity, you now have to take on expenditure that you did not budget for. So the 6 to 7 or $8 billion, that's just what we have lost. What we have to spend additionally, we are in that process now of totaling it up to see what it comes. Then the recovery phase, all of that. So I want Jamaicans to understand the magnitude of the problem. Why am I saying this? How you feel will largely guide how you act. And there are a lot of people out there who are deliberately creating misinformation. And my job is to give you the correct information. If you choose not to listen to it, that's your business. But at least the correct information must be out there. I've seen someone say, Prime Minister don't like criticism. Nonsense. Not every opinion makes sense. I am not one who fears criticism, but there are people who fear me when I respond to them. Be assured that I will respond to any nonsense that is put out, not to be distracted. The critical ones. Because managing information is also an important part of the disaster management. If you allow people
go to prison
to cast your nation into despair and grief,
for the chat anything to inside people,
to smother hope,
police are gonna come for you,
to ignore the heroic efforts that people are making, and to just focus on the negative, then we'll have a negative outlook in a time when we need people to be positive in their outlook about our recovery. So I ask all Jamaicans of good mind and goodwill to stand up to those who are seeking to become popular on negativity. Outside of that, there has to be a critical focus on the re-establishment of normalcy. Now, even though we have broken up the emergency management into phases, it doesn't mean that everything happens sequentially, that you have to come out of the planning phase before you enter the relief phase, before you go into recovery. And no, what we are trying to do is do everything almost simultaneously. So even though we are in the relief phase, we are already planning the recovery phase. And a part of that is to restore normalcy. We want normalcy in electricity, normalcy in telecommunications, get the roads back up and running. That's, one indication of normalcy. But an important part of normalcy is to get commerce up and running. Now, as I toured through Jamaica,